Good afternoon and welcome, children, to the Chapter 8 of The Adventures of Tzar the Paddington Poodle Brahman Bull Encounter. Now, I hope you're still enjoying your holidays. I believe some of you are already back at school, but others aren't. So let's get started, shall we? You called, said Ranger, as he, Shout and Bullet, with the two dingoes in tow, joined Tzar and Ziggy. Shh! Keep your voices down, whispered Tzar. Have you found them yet? Asked Ranger. Yes, our marsupial friends were most helpful, Tzar replied, pointing to the orange glow in the distance. Cattle rustlers, whispered Saxby, shaking his head. They must have spotted us following you from the river and used us to distract you so they could poach the cattle right from under your noses, said Ivan. We'd better get a move on before they drive off, said Shout, pointing to the truck. Yep, so this is the plan, whispered Tzar. Ziggy, I would like you to stay here and keep an eye out for any danger and give us a 3-bark signal when you see anything unusual. Ranger, if you don't mind, we're going to use you as a decoy to draw them away from the truck, so wander around and look like you're lost. I bet they will think that they have just won the jackpot when they see you. Makes sense to me, he replied. Now the key is to play hard to get, so they follow you, but not too hard, so they think they can't catch you and give up. When you hear Shout, Bullet do their thing, I want you to beat it out of there and come back here as quickly as your muscly legs can carry you. Saxby and Ivan, your job is to slash the tires with your sharp claw. That will slow them down, just in case our plans go awry. Then get the hell out of there and come back here. Shout and Bullet, on my signal, a laugh cough. I want you to kick the doors in and get the bulls out of the truck and bring them back here. Got it, replied the horses. Now listen, please. Very, very carefully. Once they realise they've been had, they will dump Ranger and come back here to the truck to save their loot. That's where I come into it. I'm going to be the distraction, giving the horses enough time to escape with the cattle. What if they have a gun? Asked Ziggy. When each of us has completed our tasks, we are to meet back here. Are we in agreement? Tzar asked, ignoring Ziggy's question. Can I count on you two? He asked, spotting Saxby and Ivan locking eyes. Scout's honour, whispered Saxby, raising 2 toes on his left paw. Let's get on with it, shall we? Said Ranger, nodding his head. Within 10 minutes they had arrived at the outskirts of the rustlers' camp, and everyone took up their positions. Tzar nodded his head and show got underway. Well, 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 what do we have here? Said the blonde-headed rustler, spotting Ranger wandering by. Dutch, looks like everything is working in our favour tonight. Firstly, it was those 2 dumb dingoes we used as a distraction. Now this big bull, said the curly-headed man. It sure is, Lem. I'm going to lasso me some big bull, Dutch replied, rubbing his hands together. Ranger slowly ambled away from the glow of the fire with Dutch and Lem following closely. He picked up the pace and was about 75 metres out when Tzar gave the signal to the horses. Shout and Bullet pounded their hooves against the truck's tailgate and little by little started smashing in the fiberglass. What the hell? Screamed Lem. The cattle! Screamed Dutch, running towards the truck. Not so fast, snarled Tzar, baring his white teeth menacingly and stopping them in the tracks. Out of the corner of his eyes he could see that the horses had almost made a clear passage for the bulls to jump through. Goodness, it's just a poodle, said Lem. What do you mean, a poodle? Oh, they're a type of posh French city dog. Don't worry, they're really friendly and won't harm a hair on your head. My mother had one. Enough about the dog, the cattle, they're getting away, screamed Dutch, sidestepping Tzar to go after the loot. But before he had a chance to take a step, Tzar lunged and sank his teeth into Dutch's ankle. I thought you said these dogs were harmless, he screamed angrily. Quick, Lem, go after the cattle, he yelled, trying to shake Tzar loose. Lem had barely gone 5 metres when Tzar released his grip on Dutch and hurled himself at the rustler, slamming his front paws on his chest. Lem hit the ground with a big thud with Tzar on top of him. Now let's have a look. We can have a look at the picture here. So here we have Lem and Dutch with Tzar latched onto their foot. excuse me, we have a bit of a cold here today. Meanwhile, Saxby and Ivan had managed to puncture all 4 tyres without being seen, then slunk out of sight when Tzar gave the signal to the horses. Ranger had quickly returned to the rendezvous point to find Ziggy pacing anxiously. With the bulls safely in their care, Shout and Bullet returned to the agreed spot. "Where's Saxby and Ivan?" asked Shout. "I don't know," and before Ranger could finish his sentence, they heard a gun firing followed by a loud yelp, then all went silent. "Oh my goodness, they've shot Tzar!" screamed Ziggy. "We don't know that," replied Ranger with less conviction than he cared for. "Bullet, take the cattle back to camp and keep an eye out on the herd. I'm going with Ranger and Ziggy to find Tzar," whispered Shout. "Take care," she replied, and with the young bulls safely in her care, she headed back to camp. A long single howl ripped through the night. "That's Ivan calling us," said Ziggy, hiccuping back a gigantic sob. "Let's go find them," said Ranger, taking off at a brisk pace in the direction of the gunshot, with Ziggy and Shout following. After having slammed Lem into the ground, Tzar quickly went into a body roll, just as Dutch pulled his gun from his holster. At the same time, Saxby came hurling through the air, knocking Dutch over and causing the gun to go off. The bullet ricocheted off a piece of metal hanging from Saxby's shoulder, knocking him to the ground, and tore past Tzar's ear, almost deafening him before nicking him in the tail and lodging itself in Lem's arm. Tzar yelped loudly as he was hit and crumbled into a heap next to Saxby. He didn't need Saxby to tell him to play dead. He knew that the gun-happy Dutch would take great care and delight in putting a bullet in them, so he lay quietly until they left. "You idiot! You shot me in the arm," squealed Lem, pressing his hand over the gushing wound and screaming in agony. "Shut up and let's get out of here before someone comes looking for this damn poodle," said Dutch, looking around at Tzar's limp body lying in the sand next to Saxby. "Where did that darn dingo come from anyway?" he said, looking around for more wild dogs. "Great, I don't think we're going anywhere fast," said Lem, taking in the 4 flat tyres. "Well, we can't stay here. Just get in," replied Dutch, jumping into the cabin and pressing his foot to the pedal. They drove off, leaving bits of tailgate behind. Ivan quickly rushed to Tzar and Saxby's aid, only to find them alive and well. "Well, that was a first," laughed Tzar, scrambling to his feet. He offered his paw to Saxby, who grabbed it and hoisted himself onto all 4s. "Are you okay, Saxby?" he asked, licking the blood from his tail. "Yes, but it was a close call. If it hadn't have been for the tracking plate the animal conservationists put on me, I would be dead." Expecting to find blood, guts, and at least 1 dead body, Ziggy, Shout and Ranger were surprised instead to find Tzar, Saxby and Ivan sitting around the rustlers' fire, laughing hysterically. Let's have a look at that picture. So here we have Saxby, Ivan and Ziggy laughing hysterically around that rustler's fire. "What's going on?" Ziggy asked, looking crossly at Tzar and the 2 dingoes. "We heard a gunshot and a yelp from you, Tzar, and thought you were dead," said Ranger, miffed at their nonchalant behaviour. "You're right on all accounts except for the dead bit," giggled Tzar. He then brought them up to speed on the events so far. "By the way, what happened to you 2, Shout?" asked the dingoes. "Well, we were rather concerned with Ziggy's gun question, so Saxby and I hung back to help Tzar in case things got nasty." "As they did," replied Ivan. "Thank goodness you did. Are you okay?" Tzar asked, spotting Tzar licking the tip of his tail. "Just a flesh wound," replied Tzar. "A bruise," said Saxby, rubbing his shoulder. "Didn't I hear you say that you had some food in the fridge? 'Cause I'm starving," said Ivan, abruptly changing the subject. "Food," said Saxby, licking his lips. "Let's head back to camp, shall we?" said Shout. "You bet," replied Ziggy, leading the way. Arriving back at camp and eager to get some shut-eye, Ranger and Shout whispered, "We're off to bed. See you in the morning." "Good night and sleep tight," whispered the dogs. Rummaging around in the fridge, Tzar pulled out a couple of large slabs of steak and gave it to the dingoes, who devoured it in a few bites. "Would you like some more?" readying himself to dive back in the fridge. No, I'm full," whispered Saxby, rubbing his expanded belly. "What about you, Ivan?" "No, I'm done, thank you, Tzar." "Then let's hit the sack, shall we?" whispered Tzar, pulling both his and Ziggy's sheepskins together to make one gigantic bed. In a matter of seconds they were settled, and a blink of the eye they were snoring their heads off. Well, that concludes chapter 9. We look forward to bringing you chapter 10 and the last chapter of our fabulous book, The Adventures of Tzar the Paddington Poodle Brahman Bull Encounter. Until tomorrow, bye now, see you.